So why should you worry about feeling like a failure? It's funny that I should even be asking this question because the answer should be obvious. Because it sucks to feel like a failure. That's not the place where you want to be. However, unfortunately, this is kind of the normal state for a lot of people. If they don't feel like a failure today, they're doing really good because somehow that is the going trend. Let's talk about why you tend to feel like a failure. And the reason is oftentimes not, contrary to popular belief, not because your circumstances are so bad and so severe that you just happen to not be able to deal with them. Neither is it that you are really a failure and you don't have any potential that you could be using in the situation. The most common reason for feeling like a failure is not seeing your potential. And if you're not seeing your potential, if you're not seeing anything, how can you use it, right? So if you're not seeing your potential, then you can't use your potential. And if you can't use your potential, you obviously you're not using it. And by default, that becomes you a failure, somebody who is not using their potential when they could have. So, what does not seeing your potential really mean? And so we started these roundtable discussions where I or one of my colleagues answer one of the burning questions that people may have, and people from all walks of life come and weigh in and bring their problems and questions. So you see those three people sitting in a row on Zoom like this, right? It should look familiar. By the way, names and faces have been changed to protect the guilty. And so three people in a row, and one is what I would call a successful lawyer, banker, who is pulling in a six-figure salary, making a lot of money, somebody we would define as a very successful woman. And she feels unfulfilled. She feels as a failure because she feels as a failure in her family life. She can't have any kids. She feels she can't form a relationship. So she labels herself as a failure when the rest of us look at all the money she is making and would say, well, this is definitely something that should be defined as a successful person. And then next to her sits a stay home mom who has raised, let's say, three beautiful, successful kids who are teachers, lawyers, whatnot. And she says, well, I'm a failure. I'm not making any money. I don't have any education. My income is very minimal and I'm on welfare. Do you guys see how your definition of potential would play into whether you feel you have it or not? Because both of those women can be seen very successful. One makes a lot of money, but that's not what she wants. And the other one has raised kids, but somehow she is discrediting herself for that because her definition of potential is not her definition of success, not what applies in her life. It's someone else's definition of success. Unless you make all this money, then you can't call yourself successful. Says who? Somebody, but that's what she's going by. Or third, actually the sneakiest example of not seeing your potential. But there would be a woman, and she would say, "I feel like a total failure. I've been married to an alcoholic all my life, and I've wasted all my life trying to invest into this man, and he left." Well, In cases where he didn't leave and actually quit drinking and became somebody, then women are more apt to take credit for helping that person overcome those problems. But even then, oh, I'm a failure. I wasted all my life on investing in this person and I never made any money, right? Defaulting to what everyone else would describe as success. But let's take a case where he didn't quit drinking and actually left her. Does she not have any potential? All she has is trauma, right? And no potential. But what about what she learned in how to deal with those situations? What about what she learned about herself? What about the special qualities, special powers, as I call them, that she developed in reading the situation and having the insight of what's going on and reading between the lines and seeing things that are not being spoken and probably the things that somebody has put specific effort into trying to hide, and she would still have the insight of seeing those things and so on and so forth. Can she take that and apply it to being an investigator or teaching her kids how to navigate life and making them more successful through that knowledge? Isn't that potential? So, do you guys see how not seeing your potential makes you miss all kinds of opportunities that you have? And it's not just missing the opportunities. A lot of times it's not defining what success means to you because you're using someone else's definition of success. And it's not pursuing your definition of happiness because you are so busy pleasing everyone else and their definitions of happiness. And that leaves you in chaos and feeling like a failure and feeling like you can never get anywhere while your potential and huge resource is right there at your fingertips. Think about this. Are you pursuing your definition of happiness or someone else's? And are you really seeing the huge resource that you have to pursue your happiness? I submit to you that everybody has that resource. It only needs to be discovered. Thank you for listening.